the fans are. Fans are going to fan. And it is Jonathan Kuminga. So there's been like a lot of stuff with him. Obviously, the Warriors and him haven't really seen eye to eye. There are times this season where he was just on the bench. Even Bill Simmons thought that the Pistons should go out and get a Jonathan Kuminga. But what do you guys kind of think of him as a player? And do you think the Pistons should be interested in trying to trade for a guy like that? Leggy, you want to go first?
Yeah, to me, the idea of a Jonathan Kuminga on this team is fantastic. And it's one of those pieces that is young and his play style is attractive and fits really well with the guys we have. And he fits kind of that need of the kind of 3 or the 4 kind of 3 kind of hybrid there. But the thing is, when you really look at the nitty gritty of his true play style and how he needs to play, it doesn't feel like a winning type of basketball, because when you're seeing the Warriors struggling at certain points and then they don't even play him, what does that show? He's not been able to make a serious impact. And he's one of those players, though, if you can get it done cheap and the contract isn't crazy, take that gamble, because just because he couldn't do it in one situation doesn't mean he can't do it in another. You don't want to be capped with what you do. You want to have that flexibility to be able to say, this didn't work, let's pivot, and we're not screwed now. But if you can get that guy and he reaches that potential, you're talking about an instant contributor that could be that kind of missing number 2.
Can I just point out that for whatever reason, the millisecond this fan base doesn't have a reclamation project to complain about anymore, they go out and look for the next one.
I need it.
Like, I agree with Leggy that the idea of Jonathan Kuminga sounds great, but I think that's kind of the Jonathan Kuminga experience as a whole, is that the idea of Jonathan Kuminga has been a lot better than Jonathan Kuminga in execution. And I think part of the reason why he's really struggled to see the floor in Golden State is because of the fact that he doesn't like his game predicates having the ball in his hands and him not being a role player, someone who can fill those gaps and like do a lot of the little things in playoff basketball, especially if you're to come to Detroit, where doing the little things and playing with a gritty mentality is part of the identity in the bread and butter and the DNA of what it means to play for this team. You could potentially get him for a pretty cheap deal because of the fact that, he's going to have, whatever contract with, coming up with like his like rookie deal is expiring. So you could potentially have like a really, team friendly deal if you're able to bring him in under the right circumstances. But like at a certain point, if a guy's not showing you those traits on the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry and with Steve Kerr in one of the best basketball environments in the world, what makes you think it's going to change here? And that's just my question. So I still think Jonathan Kuminga can be a really good player. I think some of it is, some of the, he could come in and be awesome here, I think stems from the fact that Steve Kerr, people are still kind of looking at him side-eyed for benching Jason Tatum in the Olympic squad. But this isn't the Jason Tatum thing. Like, if you've watched Jonathan Kuminga play this playoffs, granted, it's kind of hard to go in when you don't really expect to have, or like when you're not really expecting to have minutes, but like, he didn't exactly light it up this postseason. There were moments where he looked good, but like, he didn't exactly light it up.
Yeah, to me, it all predicates on the cost at that point. I mean, if he wants to get a new nickname, Detroit's the place, because we know we can give really good nicknames.
I don't know if you're gonna top that. I don't know if you're gonna top the cum bucket nickname.
No, I think it needs to get nethered, man. It's brutal. I feel bad for the man.
That's one of those nicknames that's so devastating. I'd go on the government website the next morning. I'd be looking up how to change my name like immediately.
Jonathan
Minga.
Yeah, you just got to go with that.
Or Jonathan Mango.
Jonathan Cum.
If we didn't have a Sar Anron, I might be like open to it. I really would. That joke was terrible. I'm not going to laugh at it. I'm not going to give you the satisfaction.
I just can't believe that came. I just can't believe that those words were uttered.
I'm not even gonna like dignify that with a laugh or a response. So I'm going to try to be serious. And I'll give you guys a minute.
I wish I could get a custom jersey for cheap set to Leggy right now.
I
So
bet.
tough.
Get him a
man.
Jonathan Cum jersey.
I'm sorry, boys. Let's keep it moving.
It's all good. If we didn't have a star Ron, I would be open to the idea. I think the thing with him, and neither of you guys kind of touched on this, he's in the same boat as Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren. Is extension eligible.
Yep.
And I think that's the issue with him. It's not that he's not talented. I think he's talented. My issue, you kind of touched on it, Sean, is he needs the ball to be effective. He's one of those guys that's a rhythm player, and that's perfectly fine. There's tons of those players in the NBA where they need the ball in their hands, and they need the dribble for like 15 seconds and get a tough fadeaway shot with 4 seconds to go. Like, there are players in the NBA that are like that, and that's perfectly fine, but there are also players that can take a lesser role and still be effective. I don't really know if that's Jonathan Kuminga, and I think that's why Steve Kerr has benched him, because he sees the potential in him. I just don't think Jonathan Kuminga has fully bought into the Golden State Warrior system. And some players just can't play in Steve Kerr's system. That's completely fine. If I did have to make a guess which team does trade for him, I think it is a Central Division team, and I think it's the Chicago Bulls.
That makes a lot of sense.
The Chicago Bulls could definitely use a player like a Jonathan Kuminga, and I think it could be a sign and trade for Nikola Vucevic.
If I'm the Hornets, I'm calling about Jonathan Kuminga this summer too. Even the Wizards, I think those places make a lot of sense. Not like for the Wizards, it's like you just got to get a body, man. Like you just need a young, interesting player that can blossom into something, and like you're at least a team that could give him some pretty decently competitive money. Like, and quite frankly, if there's like a veteran that I think he could sit behind and actually learn from, it'd be a Chris Middleton.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I think he has to go somewhere where the opportunity is going to be plentiful, but he's actually going to be allowed to grow with the team that he's on. Because that's the other thing here that I think is just important to acknowledge is how screwed over Jonathan Kuminga and some of those guys were with the approach that the Warriors took. The 2 timeline thing just doesn't work. The Mavericks will figure it out real soon. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, it's weird with him. Like even Dennis Schroeder struggled to play in the Golden State Warriors system.
Yeah,
and we see him here where it's a little bit more free flowing, play your game type of thing. And Dennis Schroeder kind of looked like he turned back the clock. He was one of the best Detroit Pistons playoff risers, in my opinion, like the second best player on the court at times. I think it's all a system thing, and I think Jonathan Kuminga is a hell of a talent. I think he's a really good player. Whatever team does decide to sign and trade for him, I think he'll get a fresh start and a fresh opportunity. I think Chicago is a perfect place for him because you have guys like a Matas Pizelis. You can have a Matas Pizelis and a Jonathan Kuminga at your 3 and 4. And I think that's really fun if you're a Bulls fan.